Hi everyone, my name is Diana and I am a Watershed Ambassador for the AmeriCorps Watershed Ambassadors Program. This program works in conjunction with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, and the goal of this program is to promote watershed stewardship through education and outreach, and to monitor stream health with biological and visual habitat assessments of different freshwater streams throughout New Jersey. So today I decided to put together a few crafts that you could do using some materials from your home that you might have. Some of these are water crafts because I'm a watershed ambassador, so I thought that would be a little bit fun to use water. Also, some are upcycling crafts, so just taking things that you might throw away and making something different out of them. So I hope you enjoy some of these crafts and you're able to make them with the limited amount of materials. So for our first craft, we're going to be making some rain clouds. This is a very easy craft. Anyone can do it. It's especially good for some little kids, preschoolers, kindergarten, first and second grade. It's a lot of fun, uses very minimal materials, so we can get started. So for this craft, all you'll need is a piece of paper, some water, and some paint combined, or you could use blue food coloring, some cotton balls, glue, a pipette, eyedropper, or even a straw, and a tray. So your first step is you're going to make some clouds. So you're just going to put some glue on your piece of paper and then stick some cotton balls to it. So I don't have too many cotton balls, so I'm not going to use a lot, but I like to spread them out a little bit to make them look fluffy like clouds. Alright, so we made some clouds right here. And once a cloud gets really full and really heavy, it's going to start to precipitate, so all that rain is going to fall out. So you might want to have something to hold up your tray at an angle, just like this. I'm just going to use my hand. You're going to get some of your blue water. And right at the base of the cloud, you're going to put some of that blue. And you're going to watch all that rain down. So it's important to have this tray or paper towels at the end because it could get a little bit messy. You're just going to squirt it on your cotton balls. And it's going to look like rain at the end once it's dry. So once you're done, your clouds might look a little like this. If you're not getting a blue enough color, you might want to add a little bit more paint or a little bit more food coloring, whatever you're using. So it looks like we have our rain clouds and our rain coming down. So our second craft we're going to be making is an oil and water splatter paint. So this is the example that I made, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So our next craft, we are actually going to be painting with water and oil. So this one's pretty cool because water and oil, they repel each other. They don't combine their molecules. You know, sometimes you put like salt or something in water and it'll dissolve. Well, oil doesn't do that. It actually floats on top of water, and we're going to use that to our advantage. So what you'll need for this, you'll need a dish that's wide enough to fit a piece of paper with some water in it. It has some water. A little small bowl of oil, like vegetable oil, cooking oil, some paint. If you don't have paint, you could also use food coloring, a pipette, a straw, eyedropper, and pieces of paper. I'm going to use really small pieces of paper because I don't have a big tray to work with. So your first step is you're going to put your paint or your food dye in the water, and you want to put a lot in here. So if you're using food dye, you want to put a lot of it in because we want it to be nice and bright. And you're just kind of going to swirl it around, mix it all in with the water. There we go. Just make sure it's nice and even. Maybe add just a little bit more, make sure that color is really vibrant. I'm using a washable acrylic paint for this. You can use watercolor paint. Again, you can use food dye. You just want to use a lot of it. Alright, so your next step is you're going to take your small bowl of oil and use your eyedropper to just get a little bit of that oil. And you're going to just drop it over your watercolor. It's going to create all these bubbles you can kind of see on your screen. Those are floating on the water. You can add as more or as little as you want. Experiment with it, test it out a few times. Alright, so I think that's good. And then you're going to take your piece of paper. What you're going to do is just put it right on top. It'll start to get wet. Just float it around a little bit. And then once you think you're done, just lift it up. And you can see the bubbles that the oil made and see all that red. So we're going to let this dry and then see what it looks like. So if you just got done your water and oil and you're not too happy with the color, you don't think you used enough, you can always try again. But if you wanted to fix it, you could just get a little bit of your red food coloring and just drop a little bit onto your paper. And you can see once you drop it on the oil, it's just going to bubble up and slide off because the oil and water, they don't mix. So you're going to have a nice bubbly pattern once it's all dry. So here we have our finished product of our oil and water splatter paint technique. You can see the spots where the oil was and the spots where the water was and how those repelled each other. At the end I used my eyedropper to add a little bit more red, and it's still a little wet right here. But at the end, if you wanted to add a different color over top of the color that you primarily used, you could definitely do that. It would definitely look really cool with the splattering of different colors. So for this craft, this is more of a science craft. We are going to be making a rainbow in a jar using different densities. So what you'll need for this one, you'll need about 4 cups. So I'm recycling some of these ice cream cups and some plastic cups. You'll need a jar, but I don't have one, so I'm using a glass. You will need some sugar. Salt could also work for this. You'll need food coloring. So the food coloring that we're going to use is yellow, blue, green, and red. You'll also need some warm water. You'll need tablespoon and teaspoon measuring cups. You'll need a pipette or a straw. So we are going to start off with measuring some sugar. So I'm just going to move some items off so you can see. So in 1 cup, we are going to be measuring out 4 teaspoons of sugar. So we have our teaspoon. So 1, 2, 3, oops, 4. In the 2nd cup, we're going to be using 3. So 1, 2, oops, sticky, and 3. In the next one, we're going to be measuring just 2. So you'll have 4 cups here. Your first cup will have 4 teaspoons. Your second will have 3 teaspoons. This one will have 2 teaspoons, and this one will have 0 teaspoons of sugar. Next, you will be adding about 20 milliliters of water. So you'll need 1 tablespoon of water and 1 teaspoon for each of these. This should be warm water you're using, so it dissolves. So just 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon should be enough. I'm going to use tablespoons first. And 1 teaspoon. So now you just want to stir these up and make sure that that sugar dissolves really well. What we're doing here is we're making water with different densities. So density is basically the space between particles and molecules. So water is more dense than gas because gas particles are further apart from each other. Alright. And salt water is denser than fresh water because there's that salt filling in those spaces between the particles. And since salt water is denser than fresh water will actually float over salt water. So if these aren't dissolving, then you might want to put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds just to make sure that all dissolves. So after all that sugar is done dissolving, what you're going to do is you are going to put in your food coloring. So the cup that you put in 4 teaspoons, that is going to be blue. The cup that you put in 3 tablespoons of sugar, that is going to be green. The cup that you put in 2 teaspoons of sugar, that's yellow. And then the cup with just water, that's going to be red. So you don't need a lot of food coloring because we don't have a lot of water here. Just a little bit. 1 or 2 drops will do. So this one's going to be pretty small. You can definitely mix with the proportions and try it with a little bit more water if you wanted to make a really big rainbow. But this one's going to be just a tiny one. Alright, so we have our colors here now. So what we're going to do is get our glass or our jar. So mine is a glass. I'm going to pour the blue, the densest one, right to the bottom. So now I'm going to take my pipette. You can use a straw, or if you don't have any of these, you could actually try to tilt the glass. So I just filled mine up. And what I want to do is tilt this just a little bit. And I don't want to pour it directly over it, I just want to pour it on the edge. Very slowly, so it can float straight on the top. You let go of it at this point. So you're just very slowly adding the different colors. I'll move these so you can see. So you're just squirting the water on the edge like this and letting it dribble down, like how rainwater looks outside of your window. And you're doing it very slowly. Alright, so next I'm going to take my yellow. I'm going to do the same thing I did with my green. This isn't working. And next with your red. So my rainbow's all done, so I'm going to carefully bring it up to the camera. And my colors were a little bit darker, that's why it's not as bright. So I would suggest using like a little bit less color than I did. But you can see that the colors are layered on top of each other. Blue at the bottom, green, yellow, a little sliver, and red. So we did this all with some density and different densities of the water and a little effort. I don't know. We can get that part out. So I was solely going to do watercrafts for today because I'm a Watershed ambassador, but I thought of something that I did a few years ago that was really fun. I actually made a reusable bag out of an old t-shirt. So I'm going to be using this t-shirt and teaching you how to make a bag. This is no sewing required. All you need is this and a pair of scissors. That's all you need. And you can use it for the grocery store, for just about anything. It's very easy and it reduces your use of plastic, which is great for the environment, so we'll get started. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick out a t-shirt. Pick out a t-shirt that you don't really wear anymore. This is from my time as a volunteer at the MSPCA when I lived in Massachusetts. I don't need it anymore. So what we're going to do next is use this pair of scissors. If you're too young to use a pair of scissors, you can ask your parents to do the cutting for you, and then you can do the rest. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one of these sleeves, and there's a seam right here. So you want to cut on this side of the seam. So what you want to do, you just kind of cut the whole sleeve off. So there shouldn't be a seam. Cut that off. And you're going to do the same thing to the other side. Good. And then also in the neckline, you're going to cut on the other side of the seam so there's no sewing. You're just going to... This is where your bag is going to open, so if you want it to open a little bit wider, you can always bring it back to this and cut it a little deeper. But for right now, I think that's fine. So then you're going to turn it inside out. So this is the end of your shirt. This is where it opens up. So what you're going to do is, right where it folds, you're going to cut just a slip a few inches, maybe 1 or 2 inches, just like this. So you can see here, I'll show you. At the edge, I cut right on the folded part. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut tassels. These should be no thicker than 1 inch, just like this. And I'm just going to cut them along. I'm going a few inches deep into the cut, and then these are as thick as about 1 inch. So I'll show you what that looks like. So this is a great alternative for old t-shirts that you grew out of and don't want to give away because they're special to you, or old t-shirts that you haven't donated yet, or you need a different alternative for a reusable bag. This is a great idea. Okay, and one more cut. So now you can see all the tassels along the bottom. So what you're going to do now is you're just going to tie these together. So since you cut them together, you're just going to take these and you're going to tie a double knot. Just like that. And then you're going to go to the next tassels and double knot them. And to the next one and double knot them. So you're going to continue this process until all of your tassels are double knotted like this. Alright, I'll skip ahead to the end. So I'm just about at the end here. I'm tying the knots really tight, just to make sure that there's no holes at the bottom. Double knotting each tassel pair. And I'm at the last one. One more knot. So you might notice that it's pinching a little bit, so it's going in, just like this. So now you're almost done. All you have to do is turn it inside out, and now you have your t-shirt bag. Here we are, my volunteer t-shirt bag. So I can take this to the grocery store and eliminate any need for a second plastic bag. So those are the crafts that we had today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you had fun doing some of those activities. I also hope that you had all the materials in your house. I tried to pick some craft activities that had materials that were readily available. Thank you for joining our virtual Earth Day celebration, and hopefully we'll see you next time.